Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about things that I plan to do differently this pregnancy and with this baby. I asked you guys on Instagram if this is a good topic to talk about or if it sounded a little weird, and unanimously you guys said that this was a topic that I should speak about, how I've changed as a parent. And so there were two things that you guys mentioned and requested. And in asking that question and reading your responses, I realized that you guys needed two separate videos. This video is going to be more like practical things that I plan to do differently. And then I realized that a lot of you do want a video of like how our parenting has changed since the first child 11 years ago. Since those are very different topics, I'm going to split them up. And so this one will be like practical things I plan to do differently, what I plan to use differently, am I going to clock diaper, blah, 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 all those sorts of things. And then maybe I will do another video that are things I plan to do the same. So if that interests you, because some of you have been here since the very beginning, back when I wrote a blog years ago, and some of you, most of you are newer. So I thought maybe that could be a fun video as well. So let me know in the comments below what you think and what you'd like to see. But without further ado, let's start chatting about things I plan to do differently this time around. Basically, I just condensed a big list of some things. I'm probably forgetting a lot. If you follow along with this next chapter of our lives and when I get pregnant, you guys will obviously see a few things that we do differently, and I'll talk more about it because I'm sure I've forgotten things. But this is just a list I've compiled. I'm going to try my best to pick out like the pregnancy kind of related ones, pregnancy, then birth, and then actual baby stuff. But if I mix them up, sorry, hopefully that doesn't matter. One of the first things I plan to do differently this pregnancy revolves around nutrition. I've been talking about this a little bit on here, but something that I'm doing differently this time is following the brewer's diet. And it's not actually like a diet, it's just a way of healthy eating to make sure you're getting all your nutrients in. It's very like traditional eating, Weston A. Price kind of feel to it, if you're familiar with those things. It's not restrictive at all, and it's not like paleo, like I still eat chocolate bars when I want them and such. Like, it's not a diet. That's why I say it's not that kind of restrictive eating. So I don't even like to say it's a diet, but I'm following the brewers this time. I was completely unhealthy following like the standard American diet, the SAD diet. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, our oldest, and I mean, I was young, I didn't know any better. I just ate food. I followed every single craving. Not that you shouldn't, but now with the knowledge about nutrition that I know that I was like craving things because I was lacking other things nutritionally. And then with my son, I was very like paleo, very into nutrition, but again, all these years later, there are some things I would have done different with my diet probably. So this time I am excited to do the brewer's diet. I've actually already started and have been doing a modified version of the brewer's diet. I don't need quite that many calories, not yet. So I've been following the brewer's diet as kind of like a guideline to develop the habits so that hopefully it will help me with potential morning sickness, because my last two pregnancies, I got really quite sick, and I'm hoping to do as many tips and tricks to avoid getting that sick again. I'm hoping now that I'm older, that'll help. So the brewer's diet is a big thing, and you can see that I've got some passion behind nutrition and things like that. So it's something I'm really excited about, and I've already started, and I really like it. But that is something I am doing differently. If you see me randomly patting things, these are just my dogs who are distracted by noisy neighborhood dogs today. Okay, so something else I also plan to do differently is staying active. That might be like a what? Do differently, but my first pregnancy, it's like all the neighborhood dogs knew I was filming right now. But anyway, that might sound a little bit odd because typically, especially now, it's highly recommended to have an active pregnancy. But with my first pregnancy, I was too scared to work out. I was too scared to maintain workouts. I was too scared to start working out. I did some really gentle prenatal yoga, and that was it. With my son, that fear was still kind of there. Although I actively did yoga through my whole pregnancy, I didn't do any of my workouts again. And I plan to just maintain the same level of fitness this time. I'm no longer scared of working out during pregnancy. You can read a lot about that if that is you. I had a lot of anxiety when I was younger that I've had to work on and conquer over many years. And I think that played a huge role into why I was scared to stay as active as I would like. So I plan to maintain my daily walks because I have dogs and children and we go for walks, maintain my yoga practice, and continue to do Pilates through my whole pregnancy. Of course, there's probably going to be some hiccups if I'm sick and for morning sickness, but I plan to stay much more active than my previous pregnancies. And something in that is I plan to practice breath work, safe breath work, and meditation and yoga throughout my whole pregnancy this time. I mentioned that I had practiced yoga with my previous pregnancies, but I'm going to incorporate breath work and meditation now. I didn't really do those things as much back then. And for me, I'm going to use those to build a very strong foundation for labor. So I plan to have meditation and breath work help me through labor. Especially if it's going to be another very fast labor like my son. With my son, for those who may not know, I had to take my birth video down. It's a long story, but I'm probably gonna re-edit it and put it back up. Anyway, his birth was 3 hours long from my water breaking to holding him. So I give birth pretty fast and it's intense. Another reason I kind of want to do breath work and meditation is because with my last pregnancy, I tried hypnobabies. And I do not plan to do hypnobabies again this time. Hypnobabies was a great tool. I don't think I used it enough. I don't think I dedicated myself to it enough. And although it helped with some mindset stuff, I feel like for my personality and for just who I am and how I've grown, I think just really harnessing that confidence and birth knowledge and then using meditation, mantras, and breath work are going to be much more beneficial for the way my brain works. My brain definitely turned off hypnobabies, and my labor was so fast and intense that my brain just could not keep up with how fast my body was moving, and it kind of just blocked out hypnobabies, and it didn't work for me, and I wish I would have had breath work to fall back on that. And so that I'm just kind of throwing out the hypnobabies thing, and we're just not even gonna bother with that this time. Something else that I plan to do differently this pregnancy, one, because I'm not the same anxious person that I was the first 2 times I was pregnant, and 2, because I'm just a generally different person. I do different things now all these years later, is I plan to continue to drink coffee through my entire pregnancy. So I cut coffee cold turkey. Well, no, I didn't even drink coffee with my first child. Although that's not entirely true. I did introduce a cup of instant coffee every day for a little bit to try and combat the first trimester constipation, as per my mother-in-law's suggestion, and it worked. But I wasn't really a coffee drinker then, and so I stopped after, and I cut coffee or didn't drink coffee and was too scared to drink coffee with my second pregnancy. And then after my second child was born, I started to regularly drink coffee, probably when he was like 1 or 2, and now I drink a cup of coffee every day, and I'm fully comfortable and feeling good and educated on that to continue to do that throughout my pregnancy, so long as the next baby decides to stomach that. I've started to incorporate decaf coffee into my life a little bit so that if I want to switch over to decaf, I can, but that's more for like if I want a second cup. I think a big theme with being pregnant again is going to be more empowered and less worried. I think now that I'm older and I've had some years under me to really figure out who I am as a person, what I stand for, what I believe in, what I'm comfortable with, I feel like this next pregnancy is just going to be so much easier in that regard, so much more gentle and relaxed, and I'm going to enjoy the process so much more because I trust it. And before it was new and scary and I didn't trust the process, and now I do. So I just feel like I'm overall way more empowered this time. Something else I plan to do, maybe plan to do differently this time with pregnancy, is I might buy maternity clothes this time. I've done 2 pregnancies with 0 maternity clothes. I was very minimalist. I'm still kind of like, I'm not a minimalist by any means because I like my collections of things and I like my vintage, I have a love of vintage things and whatnot. But you know, back in the day, I was kind of a minimalist. I toyed around with that and I didn't want to waste money or really bother with maternity clothes, so I didn't, and it was fine. But this time, I just feel like my whole body is totally different. I was really young when I had my first two kids, and now it's just like I have an entirely different body. For the better, and I just feel like maybe I'll be more open to maternity clothes. Like, I'm thinking I probably want a pair of maternity jeans and some maternity leggings, and I don't know if I'm gonna do maternity shirts, but like I just feel like I'm probably gonna get a couple of maternity pieces this time, so that's different. Okay, something that's kind of big for me, this might sound really silly to a lot of you, but especially if you know me, you'll be like, oh, that is big. That I plan to do differently once the baby is here is I plan to buy a crib this time. I didn't use a crib for either of my two children. With our daughter, we created an entire nursery and never touched it. It collected dust. Like, literally, we went in there one time and that was it. We did not use the nursery. For those who might not know me, and maybe this is one of your first videos you're watching, then just a tiny little bit of background. I co-sleep with my babies. I've co-slept with my children for the first, year and a half, 2 years of their lives. We're huge advocates for safe co-sleeping if it's right for your family. We really enjoy that. And now I still plan to co-sleep, 100% the plan. But I feel like I need, before, when I was younger and our family was younger and the kids were younger, I didn't find a need for a crib at all. There was always somebody to hold the baby, or I was holding, or I could baby wear, or safely put the baby on the bed or in the bouncer. And I just feel like I need a sleep space for this child for a few reasons. One, because we do plan to like we parent a little bit differently now. Not like vastly, but for example, I would like a crib to be able to lay the baby down in for the first stretch of the night, because I don't go to sleep that early usually. That way my husband and I can spend our time together that we always spend together after we put the big kids to bed. Then we'll be able to put the baby in their own sleep space and enjoy a movie or, things like that, just hanging out, doing our own thing, gaming, whatever. And then when I go to bed and the baby wakes up for their next feed or whatever, then I would bring the baby to bed with me and they would stay the rest of the night in our bed with safe co-sleeping. And then also for nap times, I need a safer place to put the baby. Just because, one, our family is older now. I have bigger kids. I have more rambunctious kids. So like there's a lot of jumping on a bed, and like I have senior dogs, and although my children were raised with these dogs, they sleep on the beds, and I just feel like I need a safe space for when I'm not there. And I feel like because I have older kids, I'm stretched a little thinner now. Maybe that's not the right word, but like I have more to do. I can't just like lay a baby on my chest and let them have a 2-hour nap on me anymore. Now, sometimes I absolutely will do that, but it's just kind of a practicality of our evolving life, is that now I do need somewhere to put this baby, and they need their own little space for times it's convenient to use that. So that's kind of a big deal for me to use a crib and intentionally buy a crib this time, but it just makes sense for our life right now and for our home layout and everything. So in buying a crib, we're going to be creating a nursery nook in our bedroom, and that's something we've never really done before either. So we will be having an entire cute little nursery nook right in the master bedroom that the baby will sleep for probably the first 2 years of their life in the bedroom with us. And that's another bonus for like just the way we parent and the way we do things, is not that we'll have the baby in our bed all the time for a solid 2 years, but that way they're still close, but they can have their own sleep space, and it can just transition a little easier than the transition was with my older two at times. Another thing I plan to do differently this time is skip the bucket car seat. I just don't feel like it makes sense for us this time, especially depending on the season that we have a baby in. Before, it made absolute sense because we did not have a garage before. You parked on the street, and in Canadian winters, you absolutely needed to keep baby warm and be able to transfer, and the car is cold. But now we have a garage, And it's just, I don't know, I'm like, again, I'm a different parent now. I'm a little better at multitasking and things like that. And I just feel like a bucket seat is unnecessary. The only way I can see myself taking that back is if we have a baby born in the middle of winter. I don't think that'll be the case because that would mean it would take quite a while for me to get pregnant, and I don't know, that could be the case, but I just don't feel like it will be. So a bucket car seat just doesn't really make a lot of sense because my babies have both been very tall. We're very tall people, and they outgrew those bucket seats like that, like by like 6 months. So it's just not something that I find super practical. I would much rather just buy a like One for Life car seat or something along those lines and just have a really, really good quality seat that can hold newborns. Those are called convertible car seats, Rainbow. And just use that and put baby in the garage. That just makes more sense to our life now. Another thing is that I plan to use a passy now and then. I'm just not as fussy as I used to be. Like I used to be very like overzealous about some of the natural stuff, and like don't get me wrong, I'm still that kind of parent, I'm still that kind of person, but I'm just like, I now really understand moderation and where it can fit into my life, and I feel like a passy would be incredibly useful, especially as a breastfeeding mom. To just not be a pacifier sometimes would be really nice, and I think that will be something I probably use here and there this time. In the past, I exclusively breastfed both of my children for almost 3 years each, and this time I do plan to still do that, but I also plan to buy a haka and pump a little bit, not necessarily pump like the haka can pump, but I do plan to store some breast milk and maybe use a bottle here and there so the bigger kids can help feed once in a while, or my husband can, but mostly I don't really intend to use it for that purpose because I don't really care about everybody else getting that feeding experience. That's not really on my radar. But if I'm anything like I was when I was younger and how my other 2 babies and my body worked, I think I have oversupply. It was nothing I couldn't manage, and I never had issues like mastitis with it, thankfully, but I definitely produce a ton of milk and have a really heavy letdown. So the fact that the haka exists now, that's the thing. So many of these baby products did not exist when I had children, you know, 11 and 7 years ago. They weren't a thing. So I was using entire receiving blankets to try and catch my letdown because I would bust through several nursing pads. Oh my goodness, like I have a heavy letdown. And so being able to collect that milk and store it and freeze it for either bottles for my baby or donation or something, is definitely something I plan on doing. And just to have that extra milk on hand if I'm already producing a ton, I just think it's a smart idea, just because why not? So I plan to get the haka. I'm so excited to get the haka and use that and pump with that a little bit for this next baby. Now let's go back to like the crib thing when I talked about how I just need more space for this baby, or like our family is different, our household is busier with different kinds, it's a different kind of busy, and I need spaces to safely put the baby down. So I will be buying a bassinet this time for the bottom level of the house, or the main level of our house, because although I do plan to baby wear and stuff, I definitely need somewhere to put baby down while I am cooking or things like that, and I just want some safe designated spaces to put baby down while I'm doing other things, and for that baby to be safe, and there's no pressure for anybody to be like, you must hold the baby while mom cooks so dinner doesn't burn. I don't want that on my older kids or anything. So a bassinet is something like maybe a Moses basket or like a vintage cradle. I haven't decided, but I'm excited to search for something. And because of that whole setup, I do plan to use a baby monitor this time, something I never used before. I do have one, but I bought it for different purposes. And it just makes sense to use a baby monitor now, especially if Cody and I want to watch a movie downstairs or something, and I've put the baby down for the first stretch of the night in the crib. I would like to use a baby monitor because our house is much bigger than we lived in before when my other kids were younger, so I feel like a baby monitor is necessary because I can't necessarily hear through the whole house. So that is definitely something I'll be doing differently. I have this written down and it's so funny, but it's be less of a baby hog. I was an absolute baby hug the first 2 times. And I will just, in nature, I am a baby hug. And when you're a breastfeeding mom, you're usually a baby hug. But I just plan to be a little more like consciously less of a baby hug and let the rest of the family cuddle the baby more. That's like, I don't know, maybe you can relate to that, maybe you can't, but I was definitely a huge baby hog, and I'm still going to be, but I'm just going to be a little more conscious of maybe not being such a hog. Something else I'm planning on doing differently is I never used a proper diaper bag or anything last time, and I still don't intend to do that, but I went through a lot of crappy kind of bags, like backpacks, and I used like a big tote. And I use all sorts of things as a diaper bag because I feel like you don't need a standard diaper bag. I feel like that's one of those products. There's so many products that are like, you need this, and it's like, no, you don't. Well, most people don't. But I plan to just get a really good quality backpack. I think that suits our life best because anybody can wear it. I can wear it when I'm baby wearing. We're a very active family. We camp, we hike, we go on lots of like little adventures. That's what we love to do. So I think I'm probably gonna buy one of the, I'm not even trying to pronounce the name. It's like that Scandinavian backpack. You know, it's very popular. It's got the candles on the top. It's like a fox. It's like something. I don't know how to pronounce it. Can't even think of the letters in my head of what it is and how it's spelled. But if you know it, you know it. I just plan to invest in a really good quality backpack this time and use that as my diaper bag. That way it should last the entire duration of the young child needing stuff packed around phase. Another thing about kind of in like investing in better products is I'm going to invest in a much better stroller this time. I plan to get the Bumble Ride Indie stroller for a few reasons, but I'll talk to you guys about that when I actually buy it. But that's the stroller I plan to buy because it's like one of the most eco-friendly strollers on the planet, and it is all-terrain like no one's business. And so I think having a really, really good quality stroller, I plan to rollerblade with my stroller and walk the dogs and go on hikes. And although I will baby wear, sometimes it's safer to use a stroller. And so I just want to invest in a really good quality stroller that we will just really enjoy using and that will come in handy. Another thing I plan to buy that I didn't before is I want a soft structure carrier. I'm a wrap mama. I use woven wraps and I love them so much. I have my yellow one that I bought. It's handmade. It's just gorgeous and I love it. But I definitely do want a soft structure carrier. I think probably like a Tula or something, just because I know that I'm a little more on the go now and there's definitely gonna be times where me or Cody don't necessarily want to wrap, or that's the thing is wraps are quite hot. And so especially in the summer months, if we're hiking or something, I want more of a backpack style. I toyed around with maybe getting an Ergo, but I definitely like the Tula better. I'll tell you guys what I decide, but getting a soft structured carrier is something I plan to do as well. Okay, I've been talking forever and it's kind of getting dark, so I'm going to only tell you guys 2 more things that I plan to do differently or kind of get. And one is I am not saving the placenta this time. Chill out, it's okay. I didn't do this with my first child because I didn't know that this is a thing. A lot of women encapsulate their placenta and take placenta pills, and they use that to recover postpartum. And I saved my placenta with my son with plans to do something with that, but I felt so good postpartum that I didn't need it and I didn't want to risk those extra hormones making me feel not so good. The way my body works is I just ride this massive baby high for months after birth. I had prenatal depression with Grayson a little bit in the end, and the minute he was born it turned off and I was just like soaring. And so I didn't actually need my placenta after all and didn't really want to use it. I decided not to. And it was actually incredibly inconvenient to try and figure out what the heck to do with it when you decide you don't want it, because you can't just like throw it out. But honestly, what happened to it is I'm pretty sure my mother-in-law thought it was freezer burnt meat and threw it away. And I think that's what happened to my placenta. Probably shouldn't say that, but like, it's so funny. So yeah, I'm not even gonna bother with it this time. I'm gonna let the midwives deal with it at birth and that'll be that. And kind of in relation to like postpartum healing, I plan to lean very heavily on my herbal supplements and such for postpartum this time. I didn't do it at all with my first. I did it kind of with my second, but now I know more. You know, I have a herbalism business. That's what I do. And so now I'm able to like fully lean on herbal supplements postpartum, and I think that will be very beneficial to me, and I'm excited to do that part. Okay, you guys, this was so long, but there are some things that I am planning to do differently this time with baby number 3. I hope you enjoyed. If you guys want to see more videos like this, or you have some questions, or maybe you want me to do a Q&A or something, I do plan to do a video of like things I plan to do the same, to kind of let you guys know some of the big things I do plan to do the same, and talk about that a little bit, because I know this is like an entirely different audience all these years later, and so there's different things to talk about now. So let me know any baby content you guys want me to add to my list, and I hope you enjoyed. If you're new, please consider subscribing and helping us grow this community. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, because it helps put it in the algorithm and everything for other people to see. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.